we used to watch these Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and after watching the movies, we would go and dig into and watch these bodybuilding contests. And a lot of these bodybuilding contests would start with some very serious looking older guys saying bodybuilding is character building. So I would say that any kind of projects, any kind of competition, it is character building, it is a life skill, because you learn about persistence, you learn about the difference between concept and execution. That all of you would have thought a lot of stuff, but when it comes down to execution, you have to really cut it down to a size and act on whatever you can do. I did engineering from NSIT back in the day, it's now called NSUT. So one of the things we learned in engineering was that the first 90% of the project takes 90% of the time. The remaining 10% of the project takes another 90% of the time. So unless you are burning midnight oil and putting 1.8x the amount of time it would look on the surface, you'll end up feeling that it's still incomplete, even though you spent 100% of the time. So that's one lesson. The second lesson I want to put to you is that at this point you're all students. Even if you make a great game by the time you're in 12th, and some other person who's a studious child gets into IIT or gets into a top engineering college, that person, would get 4 years of experience with very high quality peers and come out far ahead of you perhaps at the end of 4 years, unless you become a millionaire or a billionaire through your game. So I would say that even though it's very tempting and sometimes addictive to try to keep polishing your product and make it the best, but right now you are in 11th and 12th standard, you have a lot of responsibilities, your parents have a lot of expectations from you. So wherever there's a choice between your future and trying to fix and build a product, no matter what any startup guru or entrepreneurship guru says, focus on your studies and don't neglect your studies. I'm saying this as somebody who has experience in that when I was in 11th and 12th, I didn't know which topics are in 11th standard and which topics are in 12th standard, because I used to spend certain days from morning to afternoon in the computer room and then come out only after the end of the day bell has rang, so that none of the teachers can catch me for bunking all the classes of the day. As a result, when I came out of 12th, I didn't know what is IIT, I didn't know what is NSIT, I didn't know what is BC. I got admission in a very local kind of college, which I still feel proud of. And 3 months into college, I said, yaar, ye jo bande teachers pet the or the people who used to memorize, jo ratori log the, they have, one guy has got into DC, another guy has got into IIT, and I am studying a BSc in a no-name college whose name I see and people say, which college is this? And then it hit me that I should have studied harder in 11th and 12th. So when I was in first year college, I prepared really hard. I dropped a year. I got into NSIT, which is now NSUT, and got computer engineering. And I finally had a stamp of approval that even if there are lots of subjects that I just barely passed, at the end of the day, I have a degree from a well-known top 10 engineering college. So I'm sharing this story as a cautionary tale because when you are into debugging, this thing spreads to other areas of life also. Like I had another friend who was very good at computers back in the day. He ultimately ended up writing the first version of Paytm, and now he's in the UK. But at that time, when he was in school, he once found a huge trunk of his father's loaded with old Reader's Digest magazines that his father said, I will sell them to the kabadiyat 3 days later. So he was in the time before his exams, and he spent the next 3 days or 5 days reading the Reader's Digests. And he didn't touch his studies. Because that sense of addictive experience, that sense of persistence, that thing that makes you an Olympic champion or a world champion or a great coder, it sometimes spills over into other areas of life that you just can't stop thinking of code, and you end up putting aside every other area of life and just focusing on the coding and the product. But right now, do try to balance that with your studies and give your studies your best shot, right? And there will be lots of chances later in life again, but you can't give your 12th standard again if you don't get good marks. I don't know, some people will say that this is not an encouraging enough note, but I loved all your games. They were just awesome. I think you all are very talented. When we were there in the judging room, the scores I had given were such that a game that was not featuring in the tops of any of the judges was my first or second top. You know, another game that ended up doing not so well in the final rankings was the second. So all I'll say is that you all were very close, and everybody who came, everybody who tried, my congratulations and my best wishes to all of you. My name, by the way, is Nalin Savara. I run a company called Darksun Technologies. You can Google it and find it. You can perhaps follow me on Twitter. You can add me on LinkedIn, or you can write down my name. In school, you won't have LinkedIn profiles, and LinkedIn has many child security features that part of it will not be accessible if you are under a certain age. But you can write down my name as Nalin Savara, you can write down Darksun Tech, and you can follow us. Because when we started our journey, we wanted to put India on the world map for games. In the age of the old Nokia, which was when you would have barely been born, we had 18 or 19 million downloads. And even today on Google Play, we have certain games that have 3 lakh or 5 lakh downloads, even when they are in early access. So if you play our games, you drop me a mail, or you add me on LinkedIn and say, hey, we were there, made this game, I would always accept your connect request. And I wish you people all the best. And I hope that in the coming years, you'll also do something. And if we cannot get India onto the world map for games, some of you people will do great things and you will bring India onto the world map for games. All the best and God bless.